Hi, this is Brett Ingram, entrepreneur and award-winning product creator, and today I want to share with you 2 sneaky things that lose sales from your website. When we build a website, we'd like it to get results. I mean, after all, we're putting the time in, we're putting the energy and the effort in, and sometimes we're spending a lot of money if we're paying somebody else to do it for us. And so a lot of times as a business owner or as a website owner, our focus is on the aesthetic. We want it to look good. We want it to, look the way that we think it represents our brand or our business or whatever it is that we want. And our focus is mostly on the visual aesthetics and the content, right? Does it have the right pages? Does it have the right information? And does it look professional and does it look good? And that makes a lot of sense because obviously visual appeal is a really important part of a website, and certainly having the content that you want your site to have obviously matters as well. But the problem with that is, while it's nice to look at, we ultimately want our website to work for us. At the end of the day, right, it matters less what it looks like, and it matters more whether or not it generates results. So if you just have it up there as a placeholder, then how it looks, whatever, is probably a major factor. But if you're hoping to generate traffic, leads, and sales to your website, which you should be, because if you're doing anything online, there's no reason not to tap into that extra lead and sales source. If you want to be able to do that, then we need to be able to make sure that it's operating at its absolute peak performance. And, there's nothing worse than if we set up a whole site only to find out that it doesn't get any results. We check a traffic report or whatever, and there's no traffic coming in. We haven't generated any leads. We haven't generated any sales. It's, frustrating. It's disappointing. And if we spent any money on it, obviously, that's a problem too, because now it's cost us something when we thought it was going to generate us something. So that's one element, is if it's not getting any results. But here's the other thing. Even if you have a site right now that's actually generating leads and sales for you, are you sure that it's actually maximizing the amount of leads and sales? Because what if you discovered that leads and sales are actually slipping through your fingers and being lost every single day? I mean, nothing would be worse than that, right? Well, unfortunately, if we don't take 2 specific things into account with our websites, that's exactly what could happen. And unless we're website experts, chances are we'll overlook one or both of them. I know I did, and it cost me. So I had a product that I created that was a really something I spent a lot of time and a lot of money. It was a couple of years in development. And I was very excited about it, and I was working with a partner at the time, and he had created the site, and visually it was stunning. Everything about it looked great. We looked at the site. It definitely talked about the software, the features, everything else. So we were super excited. We were very excited to be able to launch this. And we used an affiliate marketing launch model. So basically what we did is we didn't just start rolling traffic out to this gradually where we would have been able to see anything. What we did instead was we got a whole bunch of affiliates and we made it a big launch event, sort of like when Apple drops a new iPhone or Samsung drops a new Galaxy, whatever. And so basically we had this whole thing queued up, and it was going to launch, and the page was going to go live on, X date at X time. And we were all excited about it. We had put a ton of work, ton of time, ton of energy into it. I previewed the site that he had created. It was excellent. Visually, again, stunning. So we go to launch it, and the site launches, and the sales are coming in really, really slowly. And we're on Skype, and we're going back and forth, and we're like, what's going on? I mean, I don't understand. Like, everyone was so excited. There was so much pre-launch buzz. It's selling, but it's so slow compared to what we thought. We thought it was going to take off and start making all of these sales right away. We knew the product was good. The marketing was good. So we're scratching our heads trying to figure out what's going on. And then I actually loaded it up in another browser. And I also started to get some Skype messages from some of our affiliates. And what I realized is the site, while it was beautiful and perfect and had all this embedded content and stuff, it was too slow. It was an 80 megabyte page, which is absolutely enormous for a web page because it had everything packed in there. We didn't optimize any images. We didn't optimize any video. We didn't even take into account the idea of page load speed. And particularly in the advertising market, online ads and stuff like that, if your page speed isn't fast, you're dead. No one is going to click through and stick. You only have a couple of seconds to grab them. But even in the affiliate model, where people were being referred to this page from people they knew, they weren't being patient enough to wait. So it absolutely killed us. We ended up optimizing it. It took us, several hours, and we were going crazy trying to do it. And we ended up recovering and doing pretty well. But at the end of the day, we cost ourselves a lot of sales. Tens of thousands of dollars worth of sales from just that number of hours. Now, if you're rolling out traffic in a slower way or you're doing it with ads, it may not be as dramatic at one day or one period of time, but over time, you could stand to lose that much or more, because every single day, your site is going to be bleeding sales and leads if it loads too slowly. I believe the statistic is somewhere between 3 and 6 seconds. If people aren't hooked within 3 to 6 seconds, they're gone. And so the problem is, if your site takes 30 seconds to load, they're gone before they've ever even seen it. So that one was a really hard lesson to learn. And what we ended up doing and what we ended up learning is there are ways to, and this isn't going to be an episode about how to increase the speed. You can Google that, you can look that stuff up, I can do other episodes. But the idea is that what we realize is you can optimize images. You can make them so the image file size is so much smaller, but the quality is the same. You can optimize the way videos load on a page. There's so many other things you can do to optimize the page speed. We increased it. We got the page down to a couple of megabytes, and we increased the page load speed by like 2,000%. So that solved all the problems. But if we hadn't gone with a launch model, if we had been running ads to it, we would have been scratching our head going, what's going on? I mean, it feels like the marketing's good, the product's good. How come nobody wants to buy this? Are we using the wrong keywords? We would have been going around in circles not realizing that the reason we weren't making any sales is people weren't even staying on long enough to know what the offer was. Because they would get to the page, it was loading so slowly they got frustrated and left. It reminds me of the old days when it was dial-up connections. When we had no choice, we would wait, and you'd watch the page load one chunk at a time, and it would load all the way down, and then the page would load. Well, those days are long gone. If that's the way your page loads now, you're dead in the water. People are not going to stay on your website. You're not going to get any leads, traffic, or sales, and in fact, you're going to annoy people. They're going to associate negativity with your brand and with your business because your site is too slow. It's just a fact of the matter. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's fair or right. It just is what it is. And so we have to optimize our sites. The good news is there are a lot of ways to do that. Again, and a lot of them are free tools, but you can optimize your images, you can optimize your videos, you can make pages that are shorter and smaller and things like that. And so the page speed is super, super important in terms of being able to get people to actually engage with your site, stay on it. And it's absolutely critical if you're doing any kind of paid ads. Because if you're sending cold traffic to it, there's no shot they're going to stay for more than a couple seconds if the page doesn't load and hit them in the face with what the benefit is. So that was a lesson that we learned the hard way, but it was a super important lesson because obviously otherwise we wouldn't have even known. We were focused so much on the content of the site that we thought to ourselves, well, of course, I mean, it looks great and it sells the product really well. It's a very persuasive sales letter. The product itself is very good. There's nothing holding us back. And we had missed that one factor, boom, we got hammered. So there's an old saying, I forget where it comes from, but it's that there's a high price for negligence. And that's certainly true. If we don't check and double check all the things that we need to be doing, oftentimes there's a consequence. Hopefully it's minor and we can fix it quickly. But if not, we learn the hard way and then we fix the problem the next time. So That's one issue. The other issue I didn't discover until fairly recently, actually. I had another product that I had created, similar type of scenario in the sense that I had created the website. I had tested for load speed, page load speed. So thumbs up, the page was loading just fine. I had a decent product and it was a decent marketing funnel and all that other stuff. And so what happened was I did the same type of a process where I got affiliates, I set it up on a launch date, and I did an affiliate marketing campaign and sold it. This one was a little bit trickier and a little bit sneakier because it actually sold and it was selling reasonably well. So I didn't realize until later, several days later, like after the launch itself had ended, that I cost myself a ton of sales. Because what happened was, most of the time when I work, I'm working on a laptop or I have it connected to my big screen monitor. So I'm always working in a desktop, laptop, computer type environment. And what happened was several days later after the launch, and I said, it went pretty well or whatever. I was going onto my website and I had my phone. I was working remotely somewhere. I didn't have my computer and I wanted to check something. So I went and I plugged in my website, and what I realized is the website looked terrible on mobile. The formatting was all off. There were sections that didn't even belong in there, but they weren't hidden. They were only hidden on the desktop version, so I never saw them. But when I went to the mobile version of the page, it was all broken. The images didn't look good. The page loaded quickly still, but there was some stuff from an older launch that I had done where I didn't hide or remove those sections because I was so working on all of the desktop version of the site. And what's important to understand is with a website, the mobile version of it is a different website. You could put completely different elements on your mobile version than you can on your desktop version, depending on what kind of software you're using. And in my case, that was the case. And so I didn't realize until much later that anybody who had looked at this site on mobile was clicking off. It looked like it was junk. The site didn't look good. It wasn't professional. It wasn't totally clear what it was selling because it had sections from other stuff in there and it wasn't formatted well. So anybody that clicked through and landed on that on mobile when they were being referred by an affiliate, I'm sure clicked off. Now I made enough sales on the desktop version that it didn't clue me in right away. And so that was really subtle and really sneaky. But ultimately it cost me because the page wasn't mobile optimized. The fact of the matter is now is that the vast majority of people, at least initially, will log in or click on a link or whatever or browse the internet by a mobile device. So they may come back later to buy from you on their desktop or on their computer. But when they first click through, most people are surfing when they're on their phone. And so if the version of the site they see there isn't congruent with your main version, they're never going to come back. They're never going to look at it again, and you've lost them. It's literally like cutting your traffic in half and throwing half of it out the window because anybody who sees it on mobile isn't even going to acknowledge it. And so it's important to understand that, I forget what the statistic is, but it's something like 66% of people are going to view things on mobile. So it's well past half now in terms of where they're going to interact with your site. So there's no question anymore whether or not we need to be mobile responsive. We do. Every website we have has to have a mobile version that looks and operates great and of course loads really fast. So the two factors that may not be obvious when we're making our sites because we're focused on the content, we're focused on the layout, we're focused on the visual appeal, right? All that kind of stuff, the branding. But they're vital to performance are actually the page load speed and mobile responsiveness, because those are the things that are going to make the big difference for a lot of the traffic that we see. Why? As I had mentioned, with the page load speed, no matter how good your message is, no matter how good your product is, how good your service is, unless someone is a die-hard customer of yours already, there's no way that they're going to sit for 30 seconds while your page loads, especially not when your competitors have pages that load in 2 or 3 seconds. And so, or less. And so it's super important that from the page load speed, we get that down to as low as we can, as fast as we can. And the other thing is the mobile responsiveness, and that's because the vast majority of the people now are interacting with our website on a mobile device. And they're seeing a different version. They're not seeing the version we have on our desktop. They're not seeing that. And so if it isn't formatted well, then it's not going to look right, and we're not going to get results there either. So the question is, if those are the factors that really matter, then what can we do? Like, how do we test for that in order to be able to know that our site is not, bleeding sales on us every single day? Well, for speed, it's actually really simple. You can just Google website speed test or something to that effect. There's also a site called pingdom.com, pingdom.com, and I think it's tools.pingdom.com where it is. But they'll give you a website speed test. And what's great about this is you type in your URL, and it doesn't just tell you how fast the page loads. It tells you a letter grade. It will tell you how fast it loads relative to other websites. And it will also tell you what the factors are that are holding it up. So now you can see, oh, the image loading time is the slowest thing. Okay, I've got to optimize my images. Okay, the video loading is the slowest thing. So it will not only tell you how you rank and whether or not it's good, but it will also tell you what exactly you need to do to fix it. And from there, obviously, you could be a detective and search out other ways to fix things. You can hire people to do it. There are online tools, whatever. But once you've diagnosed the problem or validated the situation, now at least you know either, yes, my website's loading fast enough, I don't need to worry about this, or no, I've got to fix this before it costs me anything. And particularly, if you're going to be spending any money on paid advertising, you 100% need to do that first so you don't lose your shirt on that. So that's the way that you can test for the website's speed. So how do we test for mobile responsiveness? Real simple. Grab your cell phone, type in the website URL. I recommend you actually scroll through all the pages on your site, even if the main web page is mobile responsive. But what you're looking for is it should load fast on your phone, and the layout should be smooth and clean. If fonts are messed up or things don't look right or whatever, those are all things that you want to optimize. And again, those are things that can be done with your website editor tool if you do it yourself, or something that any good website developer already knows and understands. And they should be making you mobile responsive out of the gate because it's vital in today's marketplace. It's very hard to be successful from your website or get any results from your site itself if it doesn't load really fast and if it isn't mobile responsive so every user can take advantage of it. There's a whole host of other factors as well, obviously. And there are a lot of other things we can do to increase sales on our site. I've done other episodes about that. I'll continue to do more episodes about that because I'm a big believer that if you have an online presence, that presence should not only represent you well, but it should produce for you because it's on there ever present. So every person that sees it is an opportunity for you to get another lead, another sale, build your brand. So why not make the most of it? You optimize, you fix things up once, you benefit forever. And so those things will let you know if you're optimized or if changes needed to be made in terms of what it is that you're trying to do for your site. But it makes a lot of sense to make sure that those sneaky little factors aren't getting in the way. So the takeaway here is that our websites are our 24/7 online salespeople. So we want to make sure that they're working at their best to deliver maximum traffic, leads, and sales. While on-page content and visual appeal are obviously important, they aren't enough by themselves to guarantee results. People will not wait for our sites to load, no matter how good they are. So we need to optimize for page loading speed. And most people now use mobile devices to access online content. So we also need to make sure our sites are mobile responsive. If we optimize our websites for those two factors, we can be confident that they'll deliver maximum results.